Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Plant-Based Morning Show presented by Complement. This is the Thursday edition, January 19th. I'm all about Thursdays. Thursday, I'm pumping these days. It's my new kick. That this year is the year of Thursdays, perhaps. Best day of the week because you haven't used up any of your weekend. Not even the Friday, not even the day before the weekend. You haven't used up. You just. It's all in front of you. Anything can happen. Limitless possibility. So I'm adding Doug in here. Looks like, as usual, a lot of people are here. What's this?
Oh, hello, Matt. How's it going?
All right, very nice. I like it. This is what we need.
How's it going, man? I'm just sitting around playing my ukulele. I don't know about you. Good Thursday morning. Good Thursday morning activity, if you ask me. It's hard to see it.
Well, I like it. I think that's a perfect vibe for a Thursday. And
right?
Yeah. And it's an actual thing you're doing. It's an actual, you have a prop. We can all say this was ukulele day. Perfect entrance. So I
perfect ukulele day. Excellent. You know, the ukulele is my new favorite instrument. Not because I love the sound.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind the sound. You know, it's a joyful sound. It's a happy sound. I'm a joyful, happy guy, or at least I try to be. You know, so it kind of fits me a little bit. But what I like about it,
you are nothing if not that. Yes. What you like it is what?
So we got it for Chloe for Christmas, or Santa did, I guess. It is the perfect new instrument to pick up because it's easy, 4 strings. Some of the chords are just like one finger, one string. If you have any understanding of like how to play the guitar, it's super easy. I already know more chords on the ukulele than I ever did on the guitar. And it's so small you can just like leave it around. It's sitting around the living room all the time. I just pick it up and play. I'm playing it every day for the girls while they're like running around and we're having just so much fun with it. And I haven't had an instrument that I pick up like that in a really long time. So it's my new favorite hobby. It's my new favorite instrument. And I highly encourage anyone who is musically inclined to get one.
Good. I like it. I actually tend to agree with most of those statements. I like that you bought it for your daughter and you're the one who ends up playing it. Interesting. It happens sometimes, but that's okay. It's how you inspire them.
Yeah, I mean, she is too, right? I mean, she's probably not gonna really play it that well, but you know, she strums it. She comes along and plays it, and it's like around the house. So there's music in the house, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great instrument for kids because, like you said, you can teach them a chord. They hold down one fret, and they can play a chord. The challenge with ukuleles for me, because we've definitely gone through our share of ukuleles. First of all, they turn into toys, and they get smashed and used as toys. That's fine. So you got to buy a cheap one. But then the cheap ones always come out of tune. They never stay in tune. So we finally did buy a nice one. Actually, I think we bought like a $30 one once at Guitar Center as a Christmas thing. And that lasted a while. But then eventually we actually got a really nice one for Erin. And she started learning to play it. So it's nice.
Oh, nice.
I like the instrument. It is fun. It always sounds like, you know what? It doesn't ever give you like to me, the satisfaction of really hitting a good chord on the guitar. And it just sounds great. I don't know if it's because it doesn't resonate as much or if it's always slightly out of tune, just the nature of, I don't think that's the answer. Or maybe my fingers too easily hit the other strings and they sort of mute strings too much. I don't really know, but it's missing that. But I hear you, and
I'm with you on the satisfaction. Like I said, it's not the best like sounding instrument in the world, although you know it can be really beautiful with the right song. But there's any instrument that you can just pick up and play and not annoy people. Like, of course, I could have a drum sitting around, but if I'm just banging on my drum all the time, it's gonna drive everybody crazy. I think that's good. And what's been really fun is, I mean, I would say it's a new hobby, new little hobby habit. I don't know what you're going to call it, but to have something that's a little bit creative and you know, it's pushing me a little bit to learn something new. I think that's good. And if it's sitting around and if there's any sort of little hobby like that, there, you don't have to like remove yourself from the family. You don't have to, you know, dedicate 2 hours to do it, but you can pick it up for 10 or 15 minutes and actually learn a new song. Like that's a win. So
I agree.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, good. Me too. I agree with you. And I always love a new habit. it's always fun to have something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So Steven says that Thursday is called Donderdag in Dutch, which means Thunder Day. It is not thundering here, but it is definitely overcast, so I wouldn't be surprised if we heard some thunder later. All right, let's see who else is here. I'm just going to read some names. Certainly the regulars are here. Anne-Marie, which is Du Bipri, if anyone's wondering. Mama Trisha, Aaron Fraser, Steven, D. Pierman, Jody Shuck, Mr. Jeffrey. These are very familiar names to me. D. Gay Razy 22, Vegan Nurse Ann, Annie Ballou, Jay Squid, and it goes on. The list goes on. Who knows how many of those people are still here, though? That was before the ukulele talk began. The whole health experience as well. Got to call her out. Anyway, we got a fun show today.
Plant-based nutrition, stay for the ukulele. That's what I always say.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. So we got a good show today. We are going to keep this one tightly to 45 minutes. We're not going to go over 45 minutes today. If it hits 45 minutes, we're not going to shut down right that second, but we're definitely not starting a new article or anything like that. If there's anything left, we'll just save it for tomorrow. Means if we're going to do the How Did Matt Sleep game, we got to get that done ahead of time. By the way, I think maybe that's going to be should be a weekly segment rather than every day. I enjoy it, but I can't imagine everyone else really enjoys it that much.
I agree with that. I think it's played its course a little bit as a daily segment,
Anyway, so that's the thing. That's the plan. I've got to address something here. Yesterday, for those who weren't here, we had Mr. Jeffrey. He joined us right up here on the Instagram Live and checked in from a local Canadian. Well, no, he didn't check in from a local Canadian 7-Eleven. He had gone to one that morning, or maybe it was yesterday, the day before that, and gotten their new sausage, egg, cheese sandwich, all vegan name brand substitutes in there, and told us about that. Anyway, I put it on the podcast. I intentionally was not going to do the normal thing where I splice in all the voices because it just takes way too long. I just grabbed the whole Instagram thing, the whole clip, and put it in, meaning the audio quality is going to suffer a little bit. But anyway, I totally forgot to even do that. So what people heard was the podcast of us talking, asking him questions, and no voice of Mr. Jeffrey. Yes. Leading people to suspect he was a bot, perhaps, and that there was no Mr. Jeffrey. We've been making him up the whole time as if we had this big fan of the show.
That would have been a great
people complained on the Instagram feed. They said, how come he's not on the podcast? I went in and fixed it, and I went and did the extra editing and put it in. Not the full thing where you get all the high quality, but I put the clip in there, and I can hear it in our podcasting. But people, as of this morning, are still telling me they're not getting it. They're not hearing it on Spotify or whatever. So I don't know how to get those channels to refresh their feed, if that's even possible. Maybe you can manually force it from your end, like just a delete and re-download. I don't know. But
yeah, I've got some insight here.
Okay, what do you have?
So if your phone automatically downloads the episode, which if you're a daily listener, it'll probably do that. If your phone's automatically downloading the episode, you need to delete it and then go back to the feed and listen to it there.
Okay.
Or if it doesn't, then it should be fine. Should be updated.
Okay, good. So that's your solution. If you're a podcast listener and you don't believe that Mr. Jeffrey's real, you can do that. Or you can always come to the Instagram page, Plant-Based Morning Show, and then you can get the recording there, because I do put the recordings up as soon as we're done. And you can see him. Yeah. By the way, just public service announcement. We do this show live every day at 11 a.m. every weekday on that Instagram channel, Plant-Based Morning Show, or Instagram account. From there, we also do it from No Meat Athlete Official, or No Meat Athlete _official. I mean, so when you're there, if you're there checking it out, you can follow and start coming to the live stuff, because we like that.
Yeah, Mr.
Okay.
Jeffrey says it's just a plot for extra downloads.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Just get those downloads, despite the fact that there's no ad revenue or anything. We just want downloads.
There was Taylor Swift once, or Taylor Swift's people once released a 1 second song by accident that was like just silence, and it went to the #1 iTunes charts for like 3 hours or something like that, because everyone went to download it. I thought that was fun.
That is funny. Okay. Anything else, Doug, before we get into the weather report today? And now, I said we're trying to move these shows along, which means we can't totally go off the rails typically for the most part. But doesn't mean we can't still have a little fun banter. I mean, anything new in your world? Do you want to let us in on the push up or the pull up progress?
Pull up.
What's the bar
So
situation?
we've decided to buy the bar that we're going to mount into the wall. I just haven't done it yet. I started doing a little research whether I wanted to go with the Rogue Fitness one, or whether I wanted to go a little cheaper, and I never made the decision. There was a lot of debate on where to put it. To put it, because sometimes Katie films in my office, and don't want the bar in the film. So, but we made the decision. We just need to do it.
Great. Keep debating. Keep doing research. All those are the ways. That's how you start really doing more pull-ups. Yep. Just the more you can research and decide where it's going. All those decisions.
Exactly.
Make those as best as they can possibly be made, because that's the important part of this habit change.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Good. Glad to hear it.
Yep. How about you, Matt? How's your daily activities going?
It's going great. The past few days, I don't know, reached like near dinner time and still haven't done daily activity. So I'll go into the garage, do some deadlifts, some front squats, because I don't have a squat rack yet. So I have to do sort of a low weight front squat, which is still a pretty decent workout.
Okay.
Pull-ups, push-ups, hanging leg raises, and I'm just doing that stuff. But the squat rack I'm going to order, like you, haven't yet actually ordered it. I keep looking around different options. But I believe it's going to arrive on Tuesday. I'm going to place the order, I think, and it will be coming. So I'm excited about that. But it's going great. Going for a couple little runs. Walking does not count. You helped me decide that early on. I hadn't really thought about that. I'm glad you said, does walking count? And I said, no, it's not going to count. So that's been great. And the no vegan meat in January challenge has been easy enough. I really, except for that one time at Burger King, I've almost not even thought about it. It's just pretty easy. So that's actually good. That's encouraging, because I was a little worried that I was addicted to the vegan meats. Speaking of addiction, the damp January, not going as well for me. It's just like I'm not really putting forth any effort. I mean, here and there, every other day, maybe I'll opt for the non-alcohol beer instead of a glass of wine or something. But I think I just don't associate enough harm with like that daily glass of wine or two. It's just I don't know. So I'm not doing great there, and maybe that's because I took on these other habits instead. But I don't know. I'm kind of happy with it though. It's working out. It's just not really. I'm not really doing any challenge.
How about you? We haven't spoken about that, and I've mine's kind of been the same way. I started off pretty strong in the beginning of January, and I just kind of like, I haven't had more than maybe 2 drinks in a long time, or in a week and a half, 2 weeks, something. I don't know, in a while. But but I haven't felt the motivation to either skip the beer or go with the non-alcoholic. I don't know, just hasn't been there.
That is the problem with habits where you do what we're doing, which is this damp thing where it's in between. It like the good thing, and that is a small step towards the change, but there's no structure to it. We just said, well, we're gonna drink sometimes and sometimes not drink. Right. When you just go for something, or if we both said dry January, we're not having a drink in January, we'd probably be talking about it all the time. There would have been some moments where it was more uncomfortable, but for the most part, by now we'd be all excited about it. So that a good example where when you don't really set a structure to your habit, your small step habits, your gradual change, nothing really happens. So that's, I don't know, just good example. Drew Design says, I've had the NAs all month. That's good. I do appreciate, Drew, your recommendations that you keep giving us. So please keep those coming. If you want, get a little feature spot on the show. You can start reviewing the beers.
I saw a little reel yesterday making fun of damp January.
Oh, okay.
It was like I'm doing dry January except for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or Sunday during football, or Monday if I'm watching Monday Night Football, or if it's my birthday, or if I get invited to happy hour. It's like basically, it's like.
I mean, that's accurate. Yeah, okay. That's pretty much how it is for me. I mean, it's not that many days, but it's like any excuse that comes up. I'm like, well, that's why I'm doing damp instead of dry. So
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Good. So that's that. Let's jump into the weather report. I already gave you my real weather today. It is gloomy, but I think it's not too cold. How about you, Doug? How's in the mountains? How's it going?
It's gloomy, rainy, but warm. Almost 60 degrees today.
Good. I like that. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. All right. In actual non-weather news, but plant-based news, 90 7-Eleven stores. A hot topic for us this week. 7-Elevens. They're the new Burger King, maybe in the vegan world.
They're at the forefront of vegan.
Who would have thought that would be the leader that emerges? 7-Eleven, who was for all I knew going out of business. The 7-Elevens in Sweden are now having Oatly option in their coffee machines. It's part of a larger partnership with Raytan, like Seitan, but with an R, which I think is the manufacturer of these drink machines that make the automatic coffee in 7-Elevens. Soon they're going to have the oat milk also at 300 locations of its other convenience store chain, Pressbyrån, which I think is a Swedish word because it has a circle above an A. Oatly's Barista Edition oat milk, I think that's what will be used in these machines, will be rolled out throughout 2023. And collectively, they sell 10 million coffees every year. That doesn't mean 10 million people will have Oatly. It means 10 million people will have the choice to have Oatly. So that's a good thing. Eggs also getting some traction recently on the show, especially in light of the avian flu epidemic that's occurring that I just found out about yesterday. Wonder Eggs, hard-boiled vegan eggs, are now in Whole Foods markets across the United States. I actually don't know if they're there yet. No, I think they actually are there already. They're crafted with ingredients that the company says are kind to bodies and the planet, and what that means is nut-based eggs. They're free of the top 7 of the top 8 allergens, and they look and feel and taste like chicken eggs, hard-boiled though, offering natural ingredients like cashews, almonds, and coconut. So I'm kind of curious about that. I have zero interest in actually trying it. Doug, you're a big proponent of the Just Egg. Would you be?
I am a big Just Egg man. There's no part of me that wants to try a vegan hard-boiled egg. No, none at all. Although I will say this, my grandmother, rest in peace, was a huge, what do you call them? Deviled eggs person.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I mean, always wanted to have deviled eggs. Any sort of gathering. She even for our wedding gave us a deviled egg plate, knowing that we didn't eat the eggs because she thought that every Southern family, every Southern person should have a deviled egg plate. And so this would be an opportunity for me to show up with some deviled eggs, I guess. So that's good.
I always thought the deviled eggs kind of looked like they would taste good, but I never touched them. I just didn't. I couldn't get. Hard-boiled eggs was always the worst kind of egg to me. Smelled the most sulfur-like, and I remember Easter time I would try to peel. Yeah, I would peel the eggs at Easter, and just wish I could eat that egg, and I would take a bite, and then I would hate it. So I just not interested in this. I imagine the texture is going to be good though. You can imagine tapioca starch or whatever creating that pretty much the same texture. So I'm not doubting that it's going to be kind of similar, and honestly, maybe an improvement on eggs if you can keep most of the sulfur taste out of it. So anyway, that's happening. I don't think it'll be any cheaper than eggs are right now, even with the avian flu going on.
No. All right. My guess is that the market for these Wonder Eggs, hard-boiled eggs, is in the single digits. That's my guess.
not percentages, just single digits of people that actually want
single digits of people.
Yeah. Based on the comments so far coming in, it looks like no one's interested in that whatsoever. But people get it with the grandma and the deviled eggs. My grandparents also always had the deviled eggs. That's where I saw them. Was at their house. Not even in the South. It was Maryland. I guess it's the South. But yeah, I guess grandparents like deviled eggs. Who knew? All right, this is follow-up. We kind of talked about this. This was early on in the Plant-Based Morning Show. We talked about Unmeat, the luncheon-style meat, and we kind of predicted that this was a terrible idea, that no one was going to want something called luncheon-style meat. And in case you don't know what that means, it means spam. It is the spam, before spam meant what it now means in the internet sense. It was meat in a can. If you can even call it meat, this gelatinous pink oval substance in a can. Well, they made that, but they made it vegan, and it's called Unmeat, and they call it luncheon style. I don't understand who wants this, but it's now launching in select Walmart stores, so they're making headway. It's the only plant-based canned meat option currently on the U.S. market. Shocker, no one else made a canned vegan meat. And $3.58 per can, so the price is right, I guess. And 30% fewer calories, 60% less sodium than the real thing. So if you're into that, especially if you're into that and deviled eggs, you could now have them both together. Have a good old.
That's the party right there.
Yeah. All right, this one not a new food release. Just Eat, a food delivery platform in more than 20 countries. They've joined Veganuary 2023, but most interesting is they have done some surveying of their Spanish customers, and they found that 12%, based on these people's attitudes toward plant-based diet, 12% of Spanish consumers are practicing Veganuary. That's a shocking amount to me. I would be surprised if 12% of people in the U.S. were doing it. Spain, not at all vegan friendly as far as countries go. So I'm shocked by that one, but glad to hear it. And finally, eco-friendly sportswear brand Soketo has now launched a vegan football boot made with recycled and sustainably sourced materials. Football boot, for those who don't, speak the English, the King's English, the Queen's English, whatever you want to call it. That's just a football cleat. It's a soccer cleat, really. And so they've made that. It's certified vegan by the Vegan Society, the first ever football boot to earn such certification. Only the second in the world to be certified by any organization. And let's see, it comes with a leather alternative containing 45% recycled nylon and vegan suede lining made from 85% plastic bottles and 20% recycled rubber. And the sole plate is made using castor beans. I don't really know what that is. I assume it's related to castor oil, but I think it's a food. So good for them. A cool thing. I don't know if the kids are going to get into this. The kids like the name brands, and I just can't. Even Holden, my son, who's a big time soccer player, he's vegan. He's into the boots. I just don't see him doing this because it's not a cool logo, and until they get a big player, to do it, I don't think it's gonna be that cool. But I'm glad it's happened.
Yeah.
Comment stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. No comment there. I can't speak for what the kids are doing these days on the soccer field. So
right. Yeah. Right. So that is your weather report. Kept it nice and tight today, not too much, but I'm enjoying the weather reports. I like the chance to talk about the things that are hitting the stores. Still kind of would like a weather person to come on officially all the time, read them. We've talked a little bit about it with Steven and others. So if you're interested, keep it up. We'll figure out how we're going to work that in.
I still would very much like the music.
Yeah, you're right. I got to get on that. I don't know why I'm kind of been lazy with that, and really lazy with the reels. But we're talking now. Well, almost talking to someone in our organization about doing that. So headway being made. This is my pull-up bar.
You sound like me in the pull-up bar. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. All right. So let's get into our stuff today. We got 20 minutes till our 45-minute deadline hits. First one from Insider.com. I've been pushing the Mediterranean diet all year long. It's my prediction. It's my diet of the year already. 5 simple food swaps to help you follow a Mediterranean-style diet, according to a nutritionist. So I think people probably wonder why we are hyping up the Mediterranean diet, and we certainly are a lot. I find myself very much rooting for it. And I know a lot of people, I remember there used to be like controversy, like plant-based is better than Mediterranean. You don't want to touch Mediterranean because there's fish and there's oil, and they go to great lengths to kind of explain why Mediterranean was a poor choice compared to plant-based. I don't like that attitude. I just think it's so much more accessible. And as we'll talk about in a few minutes, probably offers almost all, maybe all of the health benefits of the plant-based diet. So if you don't have the ethical part that drives you towards being vegan, I mean, Mediterranean diet is, to me, I don't know, a lot of people I think can eat this way. So I'm all about it. Anyway, this is 5 swaps for how do you get there. We'll just hit them quickly. They're pretty basic, but I think it's in some ways enlightening. So number 1, replace some meat and dairy with beans and nuts, which my first thought was, wow, if you do that, you're kind of eating now the Mediterranean diet, right? You swap out your
that's all you do.
You swap out the meat, like the red meat and maybe the chicken, leave in the fish, but swap the rest with beans and nuts, get rid of the cheese, you replace those fats with the nut fats. You're 80% of the way there to me. Replace butter with olive oil, makes a lot of sense. Pretty easy swap. Very little difference in taste, or I guess in some baking context you couldn't do that, but you can go get the vegan butter if you want now and then. Number 3, replace white carbs with whole grain versions. Obviously, you've got to do that. Number 4, replace sugary snacks with nuts or fruit. This is probably a big one, one of the biggest obstacles other than the meat. And finally, replace some meat with vegetables. So, I mean, these are basic tips. What I like about it is it really does kind of cover the whole thing. Like, if you're eating a standard American diet, the worst possible diet, and you do those 5 things, you're basically eating a Mediterranean diet. Like, there's not that much more to do.
Yeah, right.
So I don't see why.
I mean, it makes it sound so simple, right? It makes it sound so simple, which I think is good. Matt, you've had a love-hate relationship with oil. Where are you landing these days?
I largely think of it as kind of a health food now. I really have come full circle. I used to think it was healthy. Then I went into the whole food plant-based world. Started to think it was very unhealthy. I went for maybe 3 months without any of it or negligible amounts of it. And I mean a full month without it any at all. And then I had a teaspoon here and there, very, very little. And it was fine. It was easy to do. The food tasted as good. But now I'm back using it again. I don't know. I like it. It feels like I'm making authentic, kind of Mediterranean style dishes. Of course, mine are actually fully vegan. And usually they're Italian, sometimes Spanish, but they always call for olive oil and I always use it. So I don't know. I like it. The research is very much mixed. It's weird. Like the Colin Campbell, whatever the movie was, Forks Over Knives, they cited research in there, good research, it appeared, that showed that it, destroyed your endothelial cells, increased arterial inflammation, all this other stuff. You can also find studies that show the exact opposite, that show that olive oil decreases arterial inflammation. So I don't know where it comes out. Dr. Greger's got some interesting stuff if you're interested, nutritionfacts.org. Some studies that show that the best extra virgin olive oil does not cause the arterial inflammation that lower quality olive oils, even olive oils, do. Thought to be that some of the actual food, solid compounds are making it into that extra virgin olive oil. So it acts more like whole food fat would. Who knows? But it's part of the Blue Zones diet. So I'm okay with oil. I try not to go crazy with it. And usually you need way less than people call for. But I don't know. That's my oil take. How about you? What are you doing with it?
I was never in the completely anti-oil camp.
Okay.
We never cut it out completely. Yeah, I mean, it's just olive oil that we use. We do buy higher quality oil intentionally. And then just, I try to just make sure that, when we're cooking, where you're waiting till the pan's hot, like all those little tricks to kind of minimize what you're doing. But, it's, I don't know. I'm not overly concerned about it at all. And, we cook with it almost every day.
Yeah, I still have some kind of self-research to do there. Like I need to do more cholesterol monitoring. I have my family history, heart history, not good. I have high cholesterol, even despite being vegan for whatever now, 11, 12 years, and a fairly healthy vegan. Although my vegan meat consumption definitely went up in the past few years. So I don't know. My numbers just aren't that good. So I need to see what happens when I exercise for consistently, when I'm eating not much vegan meat, just see what happens. But then I'd really like to try just what happens if you cut out the olive oil and just, for me personally, see what happens. And it might not be what happens for other people, but I'd like to know that. I do use grapeseed oil for like most high temperature frying these days. I find what I've heard is that that's better under those high heat circumstances. As far as oxidation.
Whole Health Experience says Chosen Foods avocado oil in Kirkland, 100% Spanish extra virgin olive oil, single origin, is the best in her opinion. Do you ever do avocado oil?
No, I don't. I've heard of people using it. Obviously, maybe we've had it before. I don't know. I think it's one of those. It's the high temperature oil that you would use because the smoke point is higher, I think. But don't know. How about you? Would go with your never. Mexican food?
I mean, we really. Yeah, I'm sure it does. We really olive oil is really the only one we use. I'm sure we have vegetable oil somewhere in the cabinet, but I don't know. I don't experiment much with oils. Oh, we have coconut oil, of course.
Yeah, and that's one I think you got to limit. Just because it's saturated fat. We have it too, and we use it now and then, but sparingly. Okay, so anyway, not much more to say here. I mean, like you said, this sounds way easier than it is to switch from a standard American diet to a Mediterranean diet. But if one could do that, the health benefits you would observe are, in my opinion, they're going to be immense. And these are 5 simple swaps. Some of them, replacing white carbs with whole grain versions, that's easy. There's no reason you can't swap white for brown rice or whole wheat pasta for white pasta. It's not hard to do that. The sugary snacks, that's going to be the hard part for a lot of people. And get some of those meats, but honestly, getting rid of most of the meat and keeping a little bit, I don't think that's that hard. So go Mediterranean if you're not going to go vegan. All right, continuing on the theme. This one is from TCTMD, tctmd.com. Don't know what that stands for. Didn't bother to look. But it doesn't matter. The story is vegan soul food study raises interesting questions about healthy diets. And the sub headline here is vegan participants had weight and cholesterol changes similar to those on a low-fat diet that allowed meat, eggs, and fish. So as you scan down the article, you see a big quote. The results were a little depressing, to be honest, says Gabrielle M. Turner McGreevy. And what happened here is they took a group of Black individuals, did a dietary intervention that incorporated vegan soul food, and they compared it to a similar group who was also getting food education. This happened in South Carolina, by the way. So they did education for both of these groups, told them how to prepare these meals, and then told them stick to the diet. I didn't get into the details of how well these people complied with these two respective diets, but the upshot of all of it is that the vegan group, they didn't really appear to be any healthier than the group that ate a healthy, low-fat diet that included meat and eggs. So, that's kind of interesting by itself. They call that depressing. I call that kind of exciting. That means that you don't need to go all the way vegan to get great health benefits, assuming that these people did have great health benefits. And I believe that both groups did benefit. But honestly, I probably should have looked at that. But I don't know. I don't find this depressing. I think this is a good thing. If you can get a lot of these benefits by just eating a whole food diet.
Yeah. Someone else gets quoted as similarly to you, kind of flips the script there and says that it's not so depressing because it just shows that that if you just make some simple low-fat changes, some simple whole food changes, then you're gonna see results. And it turns out that the control group, the low-fat group, or what, I don't know if low-fat is the right word. Is that what they're calling it?
They called it a low-fat omnivorous diet. Yes.
Okay. The low-fat group, the way they told them to eat was a lot less meat than they had been, and a lot more plants, and just a lot more whole foods. And so it was actually a pretty healthy diet that they were telling them to do. And comparing that to a soul food vegan diet, which I don't know exactly what that means, but oftentimes, soul food is rich in butter and cheese and things like that, and fat. And so, if they were eating a less healthy vegan diet with maybe a lot of plant meats and fake cheeses and fake butters and stuff like that, then maybe the low fat diet was actually healthier. I mean, obviously they came out about the same, but that was maybe a better option for certain people. So I don't know. I thought this was interesting for sure. I think it goes back to my point yesterday around that article that was talking about the changes of when you go plant-based and kind of walking you through the timeline. And I know they were talking about a whole food plant-based diet, but a lot of people are going to miss that and just kind of see the headline and then see the subheads and that, these people did get healthier, but they're not seeing these dramatic changes that you wouldn't get from just a healthier diet in general.
Yeah, I think to clarify, I'm pretty sure that both diets were meant to be healthy versions. One of them being all the way vegan, the other not being quite vegan. And by the way, the specifics of that, if you click on the actual study at the bottom of that article, is less than 5 ounces of meat per day. And I think 4 ounces of meat is the deck of cards size thing. So this is not very much meat in a day. And less than 2 egg yolks per week. So that's almost no egg yolks at all. So this is very similar. And I believe, I haven't quite confirmed this, but I just assumed this from the beginning. So and when you said what you said, made me question it. I assumed that the vegan diet was identical to this low-fat omnivorous diet, with the exception of the omnivorous one was allowed these extra things I just mentioned.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure about that. That was just my interpretation. And so, in light of that, that's not that different of a diet, that this one has less than 5 ounces of meat per day plus 2 egg yolks per week, and the other one doesn't, but otherwise they're the same. Not surprising that both diets would offer substantial health benefits and one wouldn't be statistically different from the other one. They did say statistically different, so it's possible that there was a slight improvement in the vegan group, but not enough to write home about. So yeah, interesting. I mean, I don't know, like you, I kind of get, I like the ideas that you said, although maybe that's not applicable to this study. Maybe it does matter what kind of vegan diet you eat. Just being vegan doesn't mean healthy. We all know that, but I think it's forgotten a lot of times by people who do it. And a tiny amount of meat or animal products doesn't completely blow your diet. So if that's what you have to do in order to eat a really healthy diet, then do it.
One thing, I feel like I've heard this before, but I just they call it out in the study, and I thought it was interesting. There were studies looking at Black individuals, much of which came from the Seventh-day Adventist denomination, a Christian denomination whose adherents typically follow a biblical diet that contains little to no meat or dairy. In one study, Black Adventists had a 36% lower rates of all-cause mortality and 30% lower rate of cancer compared to the general Black population. Thought that was interesting.
Yes, and so I don't know, Doug, if you're aware of this. I'm surely most people aren't. But one of the blue zones is Loma Linda, California, which is a huge Adventist hotspot. I don't really know what is based there that makes so much of the population the Seventh-day Adventists, but they are basically one of the blue zones, and they're the only truly vegetarian blue zone is the Loma Linda one, because the Adventists don't eat meat at all, and some of them are vegan, and it actually provides a really nice. There's been 2 large studies that provide nice insights. You can look at the data and you can see the difference between vegans and vegetarians when they're all eating this pretty healthy diet to begin with. So a lot of interesting stuff from that Loma Linda region.
Cool.
Yes. Okay. And moving on, this one, Mr. Jeffrey sent me an article from, I don't know, Science Daily or something like that, which was about plant-based meats not being that healthy. And it reminded me, and I think it actually was the same exact thing, a study from Sweden that happened, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. We talked about it. And it was the idea that plant-based meats do have decent levels of, some of these nutrients, especially the minerals, but many of them are not absorbable because of the phytates that show up in plant-based foods, often beans, that will block absorption of a lot of these minerals. So that although they claim high mineral quantities, it's not actually available to the body. Well, there's new research now. This is from Australia. Headline here is from TheGuardian.com, who we've used a lot recently. Plant-based meat sold in Australian supermarkets, healthier than real meat, but may lack key nutrients. And so the idea here, analysis of 790 meat and plant-based products found in major Australian retailers. You've got to imagine they're going to be very similar to what we find in other continents' retailers too. Of 132, only 12.1% were fortified with iron, B12, and zinc, which are important micronutrients that are found in meat. So what the story is really saying is that there are things that are in real meats that aren't in plant-based meats. I mean, they're healthier than real meat, right? They did say healthier than real meat, right? Because less saturated fat, some less links to some of these big diseases that red meat is specifically is linked to. So you get that healthier thing, but then you also don't get some of the nutrients that are in meat. In some of them you do, because you get them fortified, but like I just said, it won't necessarily all be bioavailable. Yep. I mean, what do you think about this? I guess to me, like the conclusion is, let's not treat plant meat as the same food group as regular meat, only healthier. And just take all previous diet recommendations and replace the regular meats with plant meats, and now say this diet is therefore the same but healthier. That's not true. That's not the point. The plant-based meats, to me, I don't think you should look at them like you would look at regular meats. It's just a different food. And I don't know. But I can see how many people would kind of fall into that trap, perhaps, and assume that they're just going to eat these things and get the same nutrients as they would from meat, only healthier.
Well, here's what they're saying, is that if you were to take your plate, and just remove the meat and replace it with this plant-based meat, you're getting less iron, B12, and zinc than you would if you had the meat in there, right? That's what it's saying. It's not saying that you're still not getting enough B12, iron, and zinc. Like, you could be getting that through other parts of food to meet your nutritional needs.
Or from a supplement.
Or from a supplement. Or from other fortified foods. But it's not saying you're going to be deficient in those or you're not getting enough of those. It just means you're getting less than if you replace that same plant-based meat with actual meat. And I do think that that's kind of important, right? Because I think that a lot of people, at least non-vegans who were marketing these plant-based meats too, were telling you just swap it out, right? It's like the easy swap. It's the easy thing to think about in your head is if I would have a burger here or ground beef in my spaghetti sauce, then I'm just going to replace it with ground plant meat, and it'll essentially be the same meal. And we're saying like just simple replacement. It'll taste similar. It'll be just as satisfactory. It'll be essentially the same meal. So it is kind of important to also have that asterisk there that like, hey, there are certain nutrients that you're going to not be getting because it's this plant meat and it's not fortified in those nutrients. And therefore maybe you do need to supplement, or maybe you do need to eat more leafy greens to get enough iron, or you other things. So, I don't think this is bad information. And I think it's kind of important for people to understand that if you're swapping one for one, then you might have to make some other adjustments. So, yeah. What do you think about that?
I think you're right about that. I do appreciate that, the headline is not just, let's take the opportunity to bash the plant-based meats and point out, somewhat deceivingly that they're not as healthy as real meats. Because they do say they are healthier than real meat, but may lack key nutrients.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I hope the rest of the media doesn't take this and run with it and turn it into plant-based meats, don't provide the nutrition that meat does. What you said is accurate. I do think, however, that like almost everybody who is doing what you said, taking some of these plant-based meats and swapping them in place of their other meats on their plate, they are doing that in relatively small amounts. They're taking some of the meat in their diet and they're replacing it with these things. And for those people, I'm not very concerned. I suppose, sure, as far as liabilities or public health goes, we do need to acknowledge that it's not going to be the same quantities. But I don't think these people are going to suddenly become B12 deficient because now they only have half as much meat as they had before, and the other half is now Impossible Burgers. They'll be fine. So I think that the thing to know, though, is if you're going to be someone who goes all the way, who replaces all your meats with these things, then you're in the vegan camp, the plant-based camp, and now you actually need to do some research and learn how to actually eat this way, because now you're eating a very different diet from one that has, even half the amount of meat in it that a standard American diet does. So you do need to take some supplements, and then it would be important to understand exactly this thing.
Yeah, totally. If you buy a Beyond Burger instead of a meat burger for your Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon, picnic or grill or whatever, like that one meal is not going to do anything substantial to your diet at all, good or bad, I guess, but it's certainly not going to make you deficient in something. So, it's only important if you're making major shifts, I would say.
Right.
But I don't know. It's important to acknowledge this stuff. And honestly, I don't know why they wouldn't fortify it with some of those.
You're right.
Some of those nutrients.
I don't either. Unless you were trying to exactly match the profile, but I just don't think most people care about that. Like you kind of said, that was the point, right? Most people don't care about replacing all that. Anyway, we are 1 minute shy of our target ending time. So, any last words, Doug? Before we end the sleep segment for good, or at least on a daily basis, I slept 7 hours last night, and they were really good hours, and I feel great about that now. So I think things are really looking up for me and sleep. I got the How Not to Diet book. Well, I should say Erin got this book from the library so that I could read the sleep section. Very nice of her to do that. Gregor pointed out some interesting things, that the most interesting of which to me is people went and looked at, I don't know what you would call these groups, but they're the tribes in the deep in the jungle where they have not been, modern culture has not, reached them. And we look at, you can still to this day, learn some things about how humans, kind of are meant to behave in a natural way, at least. And if you look at their sleep cycles, they go to sleep a few hours after dark and they wake up before dawn, and they tend to get about 6.5 hours of actual sleep, 7 or 7.5 hours of like in bed trying to sleep. So the old 8-hour number is not necessarily the gold standard. And Gregor seems to quote 7 hours throughout his writing as like, this is how much you actually need. So I'm wondering now, like when I, like today, sleeping 11 to 6, my first thought is that's not enough sleep. Like I woke up at 6 and I was like, this is too early when I went to bed at 11. I need to sleep more, but I wasn't tired. So I just sort of laid in bed for a while. But I'm thinking maybe I need to recalibrate that. And maybe that's even been biasing some of my sleep scores, is saying if I'm in my head, I know it was this many hours rather than I know how I feel. So I don't know, more talk about sleep to come. I'll draw some conclusions at some point, but no more daily game just because I don't want to take up everybody's time with that.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely keep us updated though. I want to see if this romaine lettuce thing ends up actually lasting for.
But it is romaine lettuce. It's also going to bed later on purpose, and it's having a sleep cocoon. So threefold approach, and so far it's working. We don't know which part matters, but I'm happy. It's good, and maybe the show is better for it.
Maybe. I guess people can decide for themselves whether they like grouchy tired Matt or curmudgeon Matt. Yeah. Let's be real here.
I like the nice Matt better. All right. Well, before we go too long, let's wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow for Friday. Thanks everyone for coming. There we go, Doug. Send us out.
Hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thanks for coming to the Plant-Based Morning Show. Okay, bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
See